everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Giovanna and today I'll be talking about my law school decisions, basically giving an update on how everything is going and what I've learned so far throughout this process. So when it came time for me to figure out what schools I was going to apply to, of course, I took into consideration my academic merits being my LSAT score, which was a 159, and my GPA, which was a 3.64. And so when I created my list, I made a list of reach schools, which were schools that were pretty much above my academic merits, above my LSAT score and GPA. Target schools, which were schools that, I had a pretty decent chance of getting into since I was around their average score range for LSAT and GPA. And then also safety schools, which were schools that fell below my academic merit scores. And so creating my list, I took location into consideration first. I do live in Georgia, and I knew for a fact that I did not want to be somewhere on the West Coast, out in California or Washington. I knew for a fact I wanted to stay somewhere around Georgia, or at least on the East Coast. Another consideration was cost. Definitely when you're applying to law school, your main goal is to be able to receive scholarships, but I think sometimes people forget that most institutional scholarships only cover tuition. So when you're thinking about cost of attendance in total, including living expenses and things of that sort, most of the time, if you are not set up to have the financial support to take care of living expenses and other costs as well, most likely you will be taking out student loans. And so for me, that was a reality that hit me pretty much as I was receiving my decisions, as I was receiving scholarships from these different schools. I took into consideration the fact that I would have to take out student loans to support my living expenses. Another thing to remember is that when it comes to cost of attendance for a school, usually you cannot take out more than the set cost of attendance for that school. In terms of student loans, you can't take out more than what that amount is. I do know that sometimes you can contact the school if you do have some expenses that may exceed that cost of attendance. I do know that is a thing, but that's definitely something to take into consideration when you're thinking about financial costs as well. The next thing I took into consideration for the schools I was applying to was employment rate and bar passage rate. Now, this is something that you definitely do want to look at in terms of how many students are employed post-graduation or at graduation, and then also their bar passage rate. How many students are passing the bar exam after they do graduate? And so most of this information is usually found either on the school's website, or you can check their ABA 509 disclosure form. I believe that majority, if not all, law schools should have that information posted. And that document basically lists out more information about demographics, students, gives you a breakdown on costs, and also, like I said, important rates like employment rate and bar passage rate. The next and last thing I thought about was curriculum. So for me, I knew for sure that I wanted to go to a school that at least catered to the type of law that I'm interested in, which is intellectual property law. And so most of these schools that I applied to either had centers or clinics or certificates that were devoted to intellectual property law. So I will say you don't necessarily need to know the exact type of law that you want to go into when you go to law school, but it's always a good idea to have some type of thought or some type of idea of what you're interested in. And so for me personally, with me working as a paralegal beforehand, I was able to sort of, dabble into some type of areas of law and expose myself to see how they are. And so I do sort of have an idea of what I don't want to do and what I truly do want to spend more time focusing in. But like I said, you don't have to know first day of law school what type of law that you want to do. And sometimes it may even change over the course of time during your time in school. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my law school decisions. I will go through these pretty quickly, but I'll list them out based off of where they are on the map. And so I'll start with New York University. Now, that was a reach school, and you know that New York University is a T14. So honestly, I was just having a shoot my shot moment. I'm like, I'm applying to law school. Why not shoot my shot? With God, anything is possible. I was rejected. It is okay. I wasn't too, upset about that. Next school would be American University in Washington, D.C. that was a target school, and I was accepted. And I believe that that was one of the first schools that actually got back to me. I did apply December 3rd or December 4th to all of my law schools, and they got back to me within 2 weeks. So that was pretty exciting. Next school will be Howard University in DC. That was the last school I heard back from. I heard back from them maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's April right now. And so that was a safety school, and I was accepted, and they did offer me a pretty good scholarship. I want to say maybe more than 75% of their tuition. So I was very excited and appreciative of that. Next school will be University of Georgia in Athens. That was a reach school, I believe, and I was waitlisted. Now, I will say I did feel some type of way at first. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But a waitlist is not a rejection. So either way, I still appreciate the fact that I was waitlisted. That may mean that they saw something in my application that they really did like. Next school would be Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. I was accepted. That was one of my safety schools, and they offered me the most in scholarship money. So I will say all the schools that I was accepted into, I did receive scholarships from by God's grace. So I was very, very thankful for that. Next school would be Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. That was a reach school, and I was rejected, which is all good. And last school in Georgia would be Georgia State University in Atlanta, which I was accepted into, and I'm glad to say that that is the school that I will be attending this fall, y'all. That is the school that I went with. I probably should have mentioned that last, but yes, that is where I'm going to. That is the school I chose, and I'll get more into why I chose there. Next school would be University of Miami. That was a target school, and I was accepted, and they offered me a pretty decent scholarship. So I was very happy to see that as well. Moving on to the last set of schools in Texas. I will say for Texas, that was a state that I was definitely 100% sure I was okay with moving to, since I do have family that lives in Dallas, and so that was something I was definitely interested in. So first school will be Texas A&M in the Fort Worth, Dallas area. I was waitlisted. That was I want to say either a target or reach school. I'm not too sure. I think it was a target school. Next school would be University of Texas in Austin. That was definitely a reach school. I want to say that may be a T14 or around the T14s in law school rankings. And I was rejected, y'all, which is all good. And last school in Texas would be University of Houston, which I was accepted into. And I was just so excited to see that because they have an awesome IP law program. So I was definitely very happy to get that accepted. So those were the 10 schools I applied to and their decisions. When it came time for me to figure out what school I was going to go with, I was really stuck between University of Houston and Georgia State University. And I'm not gonna lie, at first I was really set on University of Houston. I was ready to pack up and move to a different city, y'all. But honestly, cost, was a factor that I considered heavily. And that's what influenced my decision the most. But like I said earlier, everybody prioritizes different factors differently. For some people, cost may not really be that big of a deal. And so, I mean, if you are, concerned about student loans and things of that sort, don't let that discourage you. I would just say, list out your factors and realize what's most important for you in choosing a school. And also think about life after graduation, employment and things of that sort. But like I said, don't let that derail you or discourage you from actually moving forward with going to law school. And honestly, y'all, the process is never ending. Even though I've made a decision in what school I'm going to, there's still moments where I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. And so, like I said earlier, make sure to reach out to law students for advice and tips and opinions on certain things. I know for me personally, when I was trying to figure out how to negotiate scholarships, I reached out to some law students. Also about how to increase cost of attendance, how to ask for an increase in cost of attendance if need be. And then also housing, because I'm like, my first year, I'm not working. How am I supposed to apply for an apartment? So just certain things like that, y'all. Just don't be afraid to reach out, whether to law students or the schools themselves. So overall, y'all, I hope that this video has been a little helpful to you guys, just hearing about my decisions and some of the things I took into consideration, and then also some of the stuff that I've learned along the way. And so if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below on this video, or you can also reach out to me on Black Women for Law. You could just shoot me a DM if you just want to say hey and chop it up a little bit, you can. And please don't don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video. And like I said multiple times throughout this video, please stay encouraged. Please keep going. Like I said, I know this process can be stressful at times, but you will be okay. It's going to work out for your good, for your favor. And so just keep going, guys. See y'all next time.